Welcome to ThaiPBS English News Service. Tonight you're with me, Rungtip Chotnapawai. A man suspected of involvement in 6 murder cases and 11 other crimes has committed suicide by hanging himself in prison cell in Prachuap province this morning. Meanwhile, police are investigating those who bought stolen pickup trucks in 3 provinces in the south. Jamrong Nirut Sonkamhan, a criminal and murder suspect aged 43, committed suicide by using his own shirt to hang himself in a prison cell at Klong Wan police station in Prachuap after being charged on Monday with the murders of 6 people and attempting to steal 9 pickup trucks. Of the 9 people who were robbed, 6 were killed. His former co-worker said that the suspect had a hot temper, liked to drink and abuse his wife. Somya Onjit, mother of Vachara Subchua, one of those who were murdered, was devastated by the loss of her 23-year-old son more than 3 months ago. Yesterday, relatives of those who were murdered identified Jamrong Nirut Sonkamhan after police had arrested him. Police Colonel Prasopchok Pramoon told ThaiPBS that although the murder suspect has passed away, police will further investigate the case in case more people might be involved. An earthquake measuring 3.2 on the Richter scale shook Phuket yet again earlier today. This is the 9th time. Locals have felt tremors since the end of Songkran. The local disaster prevention and mitigation unit is asking all sectors to prepare for the worst in case there are any bigger aftershocks or quakes. Meanwhile, the deputy Bangkok governor insists that there is no possibility of an earthquake in Bangkok. Around 4 a.m. this morning, Phuket Island was again shaken by an aftershock originating in Thalang district. Since April the 16th, this is the 9th aftershock felt in the area. There are no initial reports of damage. San Chantawong, head of Phuket's Disaster Prevention and Mitigation Unit, says local officials are not ignoring the tremors, but he claims many local residents and some government agencies are failing to prepare in the event that worse is to come. However, some people in Phuket are asking the local administration to install the province's very own earthquake detection devices. Unfortunately, such prediction machines do not exist. So far, these aftershocks, which are the result of the magnitude 8.6 quake off the west coast of Indonesia last Wednesday, have not exceeded 5.0 on the Richter scale. Earthquakes ranging from the 4.0 to 5.9 will cause minimal damage to buildings near the epicenter. Once the scale hits 6, southern residents should then beware of widespread damage. Meanwhile, Thirachon Manomai deputy Bangkok governor, insists that Bangkok is totally safe from earthquakes. He also said that most high-rise buildings in Bangkok are constructed to withstand an earthquake, but he remains concerned about some of the older buildings in Bangkok that are not earthquake-proof. He also asked people in Bangkok not to panic, as it is quite normal for people staying in high-rise buildings to feel a tremor. The 8.6 magnitude earthquake last week and a series of aftershocks caused damage to some houses and other buildings in the southern provinces. Recently, about 200 people in Thalang district of Phuket province have already reported damage to the local authorities. Meanwhile, psychiatrists have been attempting to reassure residents of the Thalang district, trying to relieve their anxiety. Here's more.
Psychiatrists from Surat Thani Hospital have been providing therapy to the locals in Thalang district of Phuket province in an effort to relieve their stress, as a series of earthquakes continue to hit Phuket province. The earthquakes have damaged about 200 houses in Phuket, and the local authorities are now in the process of undertaking repair work. Meanwhile, officials in Satun province have inspected the structure of the Kuan Kallang police station building in Satun because 5 cracks have been found in the building following the 8.6 magnitude earthquake last week. However, Phumkorn Rodniam, an engineer from the local administration organization of Kuan Kallang district, says the basic structure of the police station building is still strong. Meanwhile, Pinicharan Panit, Chumphon Governor, reveals that 4 active fault lines were found in Chumphon and a magnitude 2.0 earthquake hit the province today. But with the earthquake on this small scale, people cannot even sense the ground shaking, and it has little or no effect. However, he did express his concern that recently constructed tall buildings have not yet installed earthquake protection equipment.
Today, the parliamentary meeting started debating the Charter Amendment on Section 291, aiming to set up a 99-member Constitution Drafting Assembly or CDA, after it had been postponed from last week due to the overlong and intense discussions. Meanwhile, the House Speaker reminded MPs to on good behavior to avoid chaos, but during the intense discussion, everyone in the Parliament chamber was surprised when a picture of a half-naked woman appeared on a monitor screen. During the debate on the controversial issue of the Charter Amendment on Section 291, MPs were surprised when a picture of a half-naked woman appeared on a monitor screen next to House Speaker Somsak Suranon for about 9 seconds. Parliament staff quickly turned the monitor screen off. The House Speaker says he will find out what went wrong, but after the screen was turned off, most MPs did not seem concerned about this issue and continued to debate the Charter Amendment. Due to the controversy surrounding the Charter Amendment on Section 291, which relates to procedure for amending the Constitution, the House Speaker insists that he will try to keep the debate under control and stick to time frame, which requires completion of the discussion by midnight. Meanwhile, Opposition Leader Apisit Vechachiwa reiterated that members of the CDA should come from various sectors and the Assembly should not be influenced by government politicians, as the government has a majority in the Parliament and could amend the Constitution in ways which benefit them. He has also expressed his concern that setting up a 99-member CDA would lead to a charter amendment in an effort to grant amnesty to former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra. He still strongly disagrees with the amnesty element of the reconciliation plan. The People's Alliance for Democracy, or PAD, says they will hold a rally protesting against the Charter Amendment on Section 291 at Thai Army Club on April 21st. The PAD believes that it will lead to an amnesty for former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra. However, Major General Jamlong Simuang, leader of the PAD, insists that the leaders of the PAD did not know about the rally on April 21st, but said the members have the right to stage a demonstration. Today marks the second day of the Prime Minister Shinawatра's visit to China. She met and held talks with Chinese President Hu Jintao. The two leaders signed agreements on strategic development and economic and trade development. Meanwhile, China intends to increase annual bilateral trade between two countries to $100 billion or 3 trillion baht in the next 3 years. Here's more from Kun Bandit Ket Bandit.
Prime Minister Shinawatra arrived in Beijing earlier Tuesday for a 3-day official visit. During the second day of her visit to China, PM Yingluck met Chinese President Hu Jintao for talks in Beijing's Great Hall of the People. The Thai Premier was also scheduled to meet Chairman of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress to discuss business and investment with the Chinese private sector. During her trip, several ministers of the Thai government and executives from about 100 Thai companies joined the Thai PM to discuss and exchange ideas with their Chinese counterparts. It is believed that Yingluck's visit will attract more Chinese investment to Thailand and promote economic and trade cooperation between both countries, such as cooperation in the development of a high-speed railway and water management. She is also set to visit the Ministry of Water Resources to learn Chinese know-how on water management. Yesterday, PM Yingluck held talks with Chinese Premier Wen Jiabao, and together they signed a total of 7 agreements, which included a 5-year plan for strategic development and economic and trade development. The two countries have also signed a pact on cooperation in times of floods and droughts. The Thai premier sees the strategic cooperation between China and Thailand as a win-win opportunity and added that Thailand serves as China's window of communication to ASEAN. China is Thailand's largest export market and second largest source of imports. Trade between the two countries reached $64.7 billion last year, or roughly 2 trillion baht. China has proposed an increase in annual bilateral trade to $100 billion or 3 trillion baht by 2015.
The Thai Oil and Palm Oil Association is increasingly worried that the cabinet's decision to import 40,000 tons of crude palm oil will place a downward pressure on the local prices of fresh palm nuts. Meanwhile, the Department of the Internal Trade has assured that the public that is no shortage of palm oil at the moment and that the retail price of palm oil for cooking will remain unchanged. Following the Cabinet's approval of the import of 40,000 tons of the crude palm oil or CPO, only 10,000 tons will be imported from the time being. The first import will be on May the 1st from either Malaysia or Indonesia. The imported crude palm oil will only be distributed to cooking oil producers and quotas will be based on their production capacities. Viwan Bunya Pratibrat, Secretary General of the Thai Oil and Palm Oil Association, says that the association disagrees with the importation and has long been protesting against the plan, fearing that it would bring down the price of fresh palm nuts. Nevertheless, since the decision to import has already been made, she said that the import of CPO will have to be managed carefully to keep the domestic price of fresh palm nuts above 6 baht per kilogram. The current price is 6 baht 30 stang per kilo. The Secretary General believes, however, that in absence of state subsidy, it is extremely difficult for the government to import crude palm oil at 30 baht per kilogram and maintain the retail price of cooking oil at 42 baht per 1 liter bottle. This is because of the local price of CPO is 36 baht per kilogram, which accurately reflects the world price. In fact, the price of CPO has not fallen below 32 to 33 baht per kilogram since the start of the year. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Agriculture and Cooperatives reported that during March and April, the dry season has curtailed the production of fresh palm nuts by 260 to 270,000 tons, equivalent to 90,000 tons of crude palm oil. This is likely to affect the stocks of CPO in the country. The ministry further predicted that by the end of April, the stocks of crude palm oil will have fallen to 150,000 tons, far lower than the safety stock level of 168,000 tons. This is the reason the Commerce Ministry had to import CPO to force down a possible shortage. The Meteorological Department is warning that a tropical storm will hit many regions of Thailand in the next 4 to 5 days. Many houses have already become victims of the storm. Here's more.
At least 50 houses in Uthai Thani, some made of wood and centuries old, were severely damaged by yesterday's storm. Roof tiles and planks of wood were flying everywhere when the strong gusts hit the area. 40 houses were partially destroyed in Lopburi as some big trees were uprooted. Agricultural products were also affected. The Meteorological Office says a high-pressure area from China will send strong winds across the north, east, northeast and central regions of Thailand from now and especially towards the end of the week, when winds may be even stronger. Hugh Adams, ThaiPBS.
And that wraps up tonight's edition of Thai PBS English News Service. Thank you for watching. I'm Rungtip Chonapalai. Sawadee ka.